So you're treating sleep apnea in your practice and snoring.
Correct. So there's kind of two categories I'd put those patients. Some of the patients have already been diagnosed. They're wearing a CPAP. They wear the device that gives them oxygen throughout the night. And then I have the patient that maybe they're a heavy snorer and they've never had a diagnosis and they don't even know that they might have a sleep-related breathing disorder. And so we help identify those types of patients. So the patients that are what I call CPAP non-compliant, their physician's diagnosis, but they don't wear it, what the solution that we can offer them in dentistry is an appliance, is an alternative. What the appliance does is it postures them, okay? It just puts their jaw or their mouth in a postural position to keep the airway from collapsing. And we find that those people that don't like to wear the face mask are much more compliant with that.
Well, does it work? I mean, do you have people that were really loud snorers? Well, it's gone?
Absolutely, it works. The biggest difference it makes in people's lives is, yeah, snoring is that nuisance that can be dealt with, but the fatigue, the overall feeling of tiredness that they're walking around with every day can be eliminated by just helping them get better sleep.
So these are people, and just so I understand this correctly, okay, so they breathe fine all day long, right?
Yeah.
Fine. And then they go to bed, they lay down, and they can't breathe.
Yeah.
So what, the jaw's kind of floating back, and you're what, splinting it out?
Yeah, so what happens, Randy, when we sleep, we all have pictures of our friends that we've taken pictures when they fall asleep and they have that funny look, their jaw drop. So our muscles relax, right? And the jaw drops back, the musculature around the neck shrinks the airway, the tongue falls back, and that airway is just a small little hole, and it just can't get. So people that have a sleep-related breathing disorder, what you'll hear them is they sound like they're choking and gasping for air. It's very disturbing to a spouse or someone that hears them because they think they're suffocating on themselves while they're sleeping. So the appliance simply postures them, gets them in a position physiologically where that airway can be maintained throughout the night.
Do you have people that were on CPAP that are no longer on CPAP and now they're just using this device?
Absolutely. That's a very big segment of people that just have it and aren't wearing it and they're not compliant. The other segment is the patient that comes in and are completely unaware that they have a sleep-related problem. So I've learned over the years to identify these patients. I can almost diagnose them at hello sometimes. They have a profile that they fit. And I may say, hey, do you snore? Do you snore at night? And they're like, well, yeah. And they kind of look at me weird, like, how did you know that? And then so that opens up the question. I asked about snoring, and then I said, well, tell me, when you wake up, do you feel rested? Or do you feel tired in the morning? They'll say, I kind of feel groggy. Well, how's your focus? How's other areas of your life? And the ramifications of not sleeping well are horrendous. It's just all over across the board.
Everybody knows. I mean, you feel terrible the next day if you don't sleep.
Imagine.
So you send for a sleep study.
Correct. So we send the patient out for a sleep study. You used to have to go to a sleep lab and have all these. So what our patients can have is an at-home sleep test. They get to be in their own bed. It can simulate their own sleeping experiences, and this device can monitor all those vitals. That information is then sent, and a certified sleep physician has to make the diagnosis. So they diagnose the condition. They write a prescription for an appliance if it's appropriate for them, and then that's where we come in and we make the appliance, and we help get the cost covered through their medical insurance.
So patients think they're sleeping, right? Mm-hmm. Especially if you're single, and you're not. These sleep studies show that they're waking up like 10, 20, 30 times in 1 hour?
Yeah, they're called microarousal. So imagine instead of getting into a sleep, what your brain does, our brain is very sensitive to decreases in oxygen. So the brain literally will wake you up, okay? The brain will wake you up, several, depending on how many episodes a patient may have, but we can actually monitor and record these and get scientific data that documents what's going on.
So they're only sleeping maybe 2 hours a night. They're laying there for 8.
Yeah. They think they're sleeping.
And they're not.
Yeah.
So when you make this mouthpiece, do you do comparative studies?
Well, we have a baseline of where they started.
Yeah.
So we have that document of where they started, and then we have the ability to retest them, and we can literally scientifically get the data and see the difference.
And they feel better? I mean, do they tell you? I've got.
Oh yeah. My own father's a great example. This was a guy that I said, Dad, you've got sleep apnea. He'd fall asleep in the chair and he'd be out, and he had all the classic signs. And we call it the disease of denial, okay? More men than women are affected, and it's the disease of denial because men just want to ignore it. And a lot of persuasion, it took him to finally get this tested, and he was astounded at what they found. And he said, Sheldon, this device is I can't believe I just feel better when I wake up. I just feel like I have more energy when I wear this thing. He didn't think he could. He said to me, there's no way I can wear CPAP. Not going to happen. No way, no how. He was even concerned that he could even wear an oral appliance because he says, I gag when I get dental impressions, so how am I going to wear this device? But he's done very well with it.